Hi, my name is Matt Schuster. I am chef and co-owner of Canela Bistro and Wine Bar here in San Francisco. Today we're making one of my favorite dishes, a Spanish olive empanada that has 3 different kinds of olives. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with a pan. I'm gonna add some olive oil, and then I'm gonna add in my vegetables. I'm gonna start with my onion and red bell pepper. Let that soften for just a few minutes, and then I'm gonna add in my tomato. Don't forget the garlic. So these are the olives that I like to use in this recipe. I have a mix of 3. I have the Gordal, the Spanish Ripe Black, and the Manzanilla. These Spanish Ripe Black are really great because they're the richest of the black olives that I've tried. All you have to do is super easy. You just grab a couple of these ripe black olives and you give them a rough chop. So I've got some chopped olives here ready to go. I have the Gordal, the Spanish Ripe Black, and the Manzanilla. Okay? And now I'm gonna add them into my recipe. Okay? So to that, I'm gonna add a little bit of Spanish cherry vinegar and some paprika. Mix it around, and I'm gonna let this cook for about 20 minutes. All the flavors are gonna soften together, and then my filling's ready to go. Okay, so now we're ready to make the dough for the empanada. It's really easy. I start with 2/3 cup of warm water, and to that I add a teaspoon of yeast. And I'm just gonna let it sit for a moment just to activate. After that, I'm gonna add in the rest of my ingredients. So I have 4.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I have 1 beaten egg. I have 1/2 cup of olive oil. I have a pinch of saffron. And then I have my minced ripe Spanish black olives. I'm gonna add this in too. Now this is really cool because you can see them in the crust. It studs the crust with olives. It's really nice. So then I'm just gonna get in here and get messy. So, and this is kind of a wet dough. It's shiny. It's got, a lot of really great ingredients in here. So you want the mixture to come away from the bowl and form into a ball. You want to knead it just a little bit, and then you're going to let it rest for about half an hour. Okay, so it's been 30 minutes. My dough has been resting, and we're ready to roll it out for the crust for our empanada. So this makes the bottom and the top of the empanada. So I'm just going to cut it in half, and then I have 2 pieces. So I'm going to start with the bottom half. I have a rimmed sheet pan that I have sprayed with nonstick spray. Okay, so I'm going to use a little bit of flour on my work surface, a little bit of flour on top. Don't be concerned with the amount of flour that you use in this recipe because this dough is a moist dough. So if you use a lot of flour, it's not the end of the world. So I have a rolling pin that I'm going to put a little flour on as well, and then I'm going to start to work my dough from the middle out. Constantly picking it up, making sure the surface is floured, and then I'm gonna continue to go. So you want the dough to measure at least the size of the pan, a little bit over, so you have some room to crimp it when you're done. If you want to use a prepared crust, you can also do that too. So I've got my greased pan. I'm gonna lay my dough right down in the pan. If it's not exact, it's not a huge deal. This dough is actually pretty forgiving. You can patch it relatively easily, and you can stretch it relatively easy. Okay, so I got a couple spots that I'm gonna patch it up. Okay, so then I just go and I trim around the edges. All right, and if you end up with the hole, not a big deal. It's a very forgiving crust. So I have my filling right here. I'm just gonna spoon it in and smooth it around. This filling is about 8 cups of filling. All right, so now I'm ready for the top crust. Okay, so now I'm ready with the top crust, which is the same as the bottom crust. All I'm gonna do is repeat the same process of rolling it onto my pan and right onto the top of the empanada. And then I'm just gonna start crimping. Okay, and then I'm gonna start by folding it over. And like I said, this crust is really forgiving. It sticks to itself very well. You just roll and crimp it around. So this is gonna go into a 350-degree oven for about 35-40 minutes. A couple little slits for air. So just put a thin layer of egg wash right on top, and then it goes into your 350-degree oven. Okay, so my Spanish 3-olive empanada is ready to go. It baked for 35 minutes, and I rested it for about another 30 to cool it down before I cut it. So I'm just gonna cut it into rectangles or squares, you know, really whatever you like. I'm gonna put it on a platter and I'm gonna serve it up. Here we go. Let's see that. You can see all those olives inside of there. It's really nice. All right, so I'm getting together my platter of empanadas. And there we go. I have my 3 Spanish olive empanada with an olive crust. Try it at home.